Imagine hiking through a peaceful forest where the trees seem endless. The birds suddenly stop singing, and an eerie silence settles over the mountains. Then from somewhere beyond the trees, you hear a sound unlike anything you've ever heard. Was it an animal? The wind? Or something no one has been able to explain? The Appalachian Mountains stretch for nearly 2,000 miles across the eastern United States, making them one of the oldest mountain ranges on Earth. Long before modern roads and towns existed, indigenous peoples respected these forests, while early settlers shared stories of strange lights, mysterious disappearances, unusual creatures, and places where even experienced hikers refused to go after dark. Some of these mysteries have scientific explanations. Others remain unsolved despite decades of investigation. Tonight, we're exploring 21 of the wildest Appalachian mysteries, from unexplained natural phenomena and forgotten places to legends that continue to fascinate both locals and researchers. As always, we'll separate documented facts from folklore and let you decide what you believe. Let's begin. 21. The singing river that doesn't sound like water. In parts of the Appalachian region, visitors have reported hearing low humming or musical tones coming from rivers and streams. Unlike the familiar rush of flowing water, these sounds can resemble distant singing, metallic vibrations, or even faint voices carried through the valleys. Scientists suggest that unique rock formations, fast-moving currents, and echoes within narrow mountain hollows can combine to create unusual acoustic effects. Temperature changes and humidity can also bend sound in surprising ways, making distant noises seem much closer than they really are. Even so, many locals insist they've heard sounds that don't match any known natural source. Stories about singing waters have been passed down for generations, becoming part of Appalachian folklore. Whether the explanation is purely geological or something more unusual, the mystery continues to attract curious hikers and nature enthusiasts. 20. Ghost lights on lonely roads. Across several Appalachian states, drivers have reported seeing glowing lights hovering above remote roads or drifting through wooded hillsides. These lights sometimes appear white, blue, or orange before fading away without leaving a trace. Researchers have proposed several natural explanations, including atmospheric conditions, reflections from distant vehicle headlights, marsh gases in certain environments, and temperature inversions that can distort light. Despite these possibilities, some lights have been reported in locations where none of those explanations fully fit every observation. Because reports have continued for decades, the phenomenon remains one of the region's most enduring mysteries and has inspired countless local legends. 19. The forest that suddenly goes silent. Many experienced hikers describe moments when an otherwise lively forest becomes completely quiet. Birds stop calling, insects seem to disappear, and even the wind feels absent for a brief period. Wildlife experts note that predators moving through an area can temporarily silence birds and smaller animals. Weather shifts can also reduce ambient sounds. Still, the sudden stillness can feel unsettling, especially in dense forests where visibility is limited. Combined with the vastness of the Appalachian wilderness, these silent moments have contributed to stories that the mountains themselves are warning travelers to leave. 18. Ancient stone walls deep in the woods. Throughout parts of the Appalachians, hikers occasionally discover old stone walls far from any modern settlements. Some are clearly remnants of historic farms, while others appear isolated in places that seem unlikely for agriculture. Historians explain that many forests visible today were once cleared for farming during the 18th and 19th centuries. As people moved away, nature slowly reclaimed the land, leaving only the stone boundaries behind. For first-time visitors, however, finding carefully stacked walls deep within dense forests can feel like stumbling upon the remains of a forgotten civilization, adding another layer of mystery to the mountains. 17. The strange mountain booms. Residents across Appalachia have occasionally reported hearing loud booming sounds that resemble distant explosions or cannon fire, even when no storms or industrial activity are present. Scientists have suggested several possibilities, including small earthquakes, rock falls, atmospheric pressure changes, or natural geological activity. Similar unexplained sounds have also been reported in other mountainous regions around the world. Because many of these booms occur without a confirmed source, they continue to puzzle both researchers and local communities. 16 hidden caves that seem to never end. The Appalachian region contains thousands of caves, many of which remain only partially explored. Some cave systems stretch for dozens of miles beneath the mountains, revealing underground rivers, massive chambers, and delicate mineral formations. Experienced cave explorers emphasize that these environments can be extremely dangerous due to flooding, unstable passages, and limited visibility. Stories of endless tunnels and unexplored passages have inspired generations of legends. While many claims are exaggerated, the sheer size of some documented cave systems reminds us that much of the underground landscape remains difficult to fully map. 15. The whispering wind. Some mountain ridges produce unusual whistling or whisper-like sounds when strong winds pass through narrow gaps between rock formations and trees. Meteorologists explain that airflow interacting with terrain can create tones similar to those heard in musical instruments. Yet for centuries, travelers interpreted these eerie sounds as voices carried across the mountains. Whether heard during a foggy morning or after sunset, the whispering wind continues to inspire stories that have become an enduring part of Appalachian culture. 14. The town that nature swallowed. Scattered throughout the Appalachian region are abandoned mining camps and small mountain communities that once bustled with life. During the coal boom of the late 1800s and early 1900s, thousands of families settled deep within the mountains. When mines closed or resources ran out, many towns were gradually abandoned. Today, hikers occasionally come across cracked foundations, rusting machinery, forgotten cemeteries, and old stone chimneys standing alone among the trees. In some places, forests have grown so thick that entire streets have nearly disappeared beneath vegetation. Visitors often describe an unusual feeling when walking through these sites. With no traffic, electricity, or modern noise, it's easy to imagine life suddenly stopping decades ago. Historians point out that these ghost towns reflect economic change rather than unexplained events. Still, seeing nature slowly reclaim homes, schools, and churches creates an atmosphere unlike anywhere else. It's no surprise these forgotten places have inspired countless Appalachian ghost stories. 13. The mystery of vanishing trails. Experienced hikers sometimes report something unexpected. A trail they were confidently following seems to disappear only to reappear later. Others say familiar landmarks suddenly look unfamiliar, making it difficult to determine which direction they came from. Navigation experts explain that dense forests often contain repeating patterns of trees, rocks, and ridges that make orientation surprisingly difficult. Fog, changing light, and fatigue can also affect perception. Psychologists refer to this as spatial disorientation, a well-documented phenomenon that can happen even to experienced outdoorsmen. Yet local folklore tells a different story. Some legends describe mountains that hide certain paths or lead travelers in circles if they ignore warnings or venture too far off established routes. Whether explained by human perception or centuries-old storytelling, the lesson remains the same. Always stay on marked trails and carry reliable navigation equipment when exploring remote wilderness. 12. Strange footprints in the mud. After heavy rain or fresh snowfall, hikers occasionally report finding unusually large footprints deep in the forest. Most turn out to belong to black bears, elk, or other wildlife whose tracks can appear distorted as they melt or erode. Wildlife. Biologists note that overlapping animal tracks can create surprisingly unusual shapes. Mud can also stretch footprints, making them seem much larger than they originally were. Despite these explanations, photographs of unidentified tracks continue to circulate among outdoor enthusiasts. Some have fueled legends of unknown creatures roaming the mountains, while others are likely the result of natural conditions, altering ordinary animal prints. Without clear evidence, researchers remain cautious. The mystery persists, because every unusual footprint invites a new question before an answer can be found. 11. The hidden mountain cemeteries. Deep within Appalachian forests lie small family cemeteries dating back more than a century. Many belong to isolated farming communities where generations of relatives were buried close to home. As families moved away, these burial grounds were gradually forgotten. Trees grew around weathered gravestones, vines covered stone walls, and trails disappeared beneath leaves. Modern hikers sometimes discover these quiet places by accident. To many visitors, stumbling upon a cemetery in the middle of dense woods feels unsettling. Yet historians emphasize that these sites are valuable reminders of the region's early settlers and should always be treated with respect. Their isolation creates an eerie atmosphere, but their true story is one of history rather than the supernatural. 10. The blue mist that appears without warning. The Appalachian Mountains are famous for their characteristic blue haze, which gave parts of the range their nickname, the Blue Ridge. Scientists explain that trees release natural compounds called isoprene. Combined with moisture and sunlight, these particles scatter blue wavelengths of light, producing the mountain's distinctive appearance. However, some hikers describe isolated patches of dense, blue mist appearing unexpectedly in valleys, before quickly fading away. Weather specialists believe changing humidity, temperature inversions, and localized fog can create these brief effects. Even with scientific explanations, witnessing an entire valley suddenly disappear behind a glowing blue curtain remains one of the most unforgettable sights in Appalachia. 9. The echo that answers back. In several mountain valleys, visitors have reported shouting across ridges only to hear echoes that seem delayed, distorted, or strangely different from the original sound. Acoustic researchers explain that multiple rock faces can reflect sound in complex ways. Different echoes may return at slightly different times, creating the illusion of another voice responding. Before modern science understood these effects, early settlers often believed unseen spirits or mysterious forces lived among the mountains. Today, these unusual echoes serve as another reminder that nature can sometimes create experiences that feel almost impossible, even when physics provides the answer. 8. The fire that burned beneath the mountain. One of the lesser-known Appalachian mysteries involves underground coal seam fires. In rare cases, exposed coal deposits can ignite naturally through chemical reactions or human activity and continue burning beneath the surface for years or even decades. These hidden fires may produce warm ground, unusual smoke vents, cracked earth, or steam rising from unexpected places. To someone unaware of the geology, such scenes can appear incredibly mysterious. Geologists monitor known underground fires because they can weaken the ground above and pose safety risks. Although rare, they demonstrate how the mountains can hide powerful, natural processes far below the surface. What seems impossible at first often has an explanation buried deep underground, sometimes literally. 7. The endless fog that changes everything. Anyone who has spent time in the Appalachian Mountains knows how quickly the weather can change. A clear morning can become wrapped in thick fog within minutes, reducing visibility to just a few feet. Meteorologists explain that the region's steep valleys, changing elevations, and humid air create ideal conditions for rapid fog formation. Warm, moist air rises, cools against the mountains, and condenses into dense clouds at ground level. For hikers, this can be more than an inconvenience. Landmarks disappear. Familiar trails suddenly look unfamiliar. Distances become difficult to judge, and sounds seem to come from unexpected directions. Many old Appalachian legends describe travelers who believed the mountains themselves were hiding certain places beneath the fog. While modern science explains how these weather patterns occur, anyone who has stood in complete silence surrounded by thick mountain mist understands why these stories endured for generations. Sometimes the greatest mystery isn't what hides in the fog, it's how dramatically it can change the landscape in only a few moments. 6. The Brown Mountain Lights. Perhaps the most famous unexplained lights associated with the Appalachian region are the Brown Mountain Lights in North Carolina. For more than a century, visitors have reported glowing orbs drifting above Brown Mountain. Witnesses have described white, yellow, orange, and even bluish lights that appear to float, split apart, disappear, and return without warning. The phenomenon became widely known after newspaper reports in the early 1900s, and researchers have investigated it ever since. Several explanations have been proposed. Some scientists believe many sightings can be attributed to distant vehicle headlights, atmospheric refraction, campfires, or natural variations in visibility caused by weather conditions. Others suggest temperature inversions may bend light in unusual ways. Yet not every reported sighting fits neatly into those explanations. Whether every light can eventually be explained remains an open question. But one thing is certain. The Brown Mountain Lights have become one of Appalachia's most enduring mysteries, attracting visitors, photographers, and researchers from around the world. 5. The sounds no one can identify. Across the Appalachian Mountains, hikers occasionally report hearing strange sounds that don't resemble familiar wildlife. Some describe deep knocks echoing through the forest. Others mention whistles, distant cries, or rhythmic tapping that seems impossible to locate. Wildlife experts remind us that many animals produce surprising sounds. Foxes, barred owls, elk, coyotes, bobcats, and even trees rubbing together during strong winds can create noises that seem unfamiliar, especially at night. Sound also behaves differently in mountainous terrain. Valleys, cliffs, and changing temperatures can carry noises across remarkable distances or distort them entirely. Even so, unusual recordings occasionally surface online, sparking debates among outdoor enthusiasts and researchers alike. Most remain unidentified, simply because there isn't enough evidence to determine their source with confidence. 4. The mystery of lost travelers. The Appalachian Trail stretches for more than 2,000 miles, through forests, mountains, and remote wilderness. Every year, search and rescue teams successfully locate hikers who become lost due to changing weather, navigation mistakes, injuries, or simple exhaustion. Experts consistently emphasize that wilderness can become dangerous surprisingly quickly. A missed trail marker, an unexpected storm, or a dead phone battery can turn a routine hike into a serious emergency. Over time, stories about missing travelers have become woven into Appalachian folklore, sometimes growing more mysterious with each retelling. While many disappearances eventually receive reasonable explanations, some historical cases remain unresolved because evidence was limited or conditions made investigations extremely difficult. Rather than pointing toward the supernatural, these stories remind us of the immense power and unpredictability of nature. 3. The Devil's Tramping Ground Legends. One of the region's most famous legends tells of mysterious circular clearings where, according to folklore, vegetation struggles to grow. Local stories claim these circles were used by supernatural beings during the night, while skeptics argue they're the result of natural soil conditions, erosion, or repeated human activity over many years. Scientists studying similar formations often find that differences in soil chemistry, drainage, or repeated disturbance can prevent certain plants from growing normally. Although the legend itself remains part of regional folklore rather than established fact, sites like these demonstrate how unusual natural features often become the foundation for stories passed through generations. Whether viewed as geology or legend, they continue to capture the imagination of visitors. Towards ancient mountains older than dinosaurs. One of the most incredible Appalachian mysteries isn't mysterious because of what people have seen, it's mysterious because of time itself. Geologists estimate that parts of the Appalachian Mountain chain began forming hundreds of millions of years ago, making them far older than the Rocky Mountains and even older than the dinosaurs. These mountains have witnessed continental collisions, the formation of ancient supercontinents, massive climate changes, and countless extinctions. Their peaks were once believed to rival the height of today's Himalayas before millions of years of erosion slowly wore them down. When you stand on an Appalachian ridge, you're standing on one of Earth's oldest surviving landscapes, a place whose history stretches far beyond human civilization. Perhaps that's why these mountains continue to inspire so many mysteries. They've existed long, enough to collect stories from every generation that has ever crossed them. 1. The mystery that can never be fully solved. After exploring forgotten settlements, unexplained lights, strange sounds, disappearing trails, hidden caves, and centuries of folklore, one mystery stands above all the others. Why do the Appalachian Mountains continue to captivate us? The answer may not lie in a single unexplained event. Instead, it's the unique combination of ancient geology, vast wilderness, changing weather, rich indigenous history, early pioneer traditions, and generations of storytelling. Every visitor experiences these mountains differently. One person sees breathtaking scenery, another hears unfamiliar wildlife, Someone else discovers an abandoned cemetery or an old stone wall deep in the forest. Each experience adds another chapter to the Appalachian story. Science has answered many questions about these mountains, and it will likely answer many more in the future. But curiosity is part of what makes exploration exciting. As long as these forests remain vast and these mountains continue to guard their valleys and hidden trails, people will keep asking questions, sharing stories, and searching for answers. And perhaps that's the greatest mystery of all. The Appalachian Mountains remind us that not every mystery requires a supernatural explanation to be fascinating. Sometimes history, geology, weather, and human imagination combine to create stories that are just as compelling as fiction. So which of these 21 Appalachian mysteries surprised you the most? Was it the mysterious lights, the forgotten ghost towns, the strange mountain sounds, or the endless fog that transforms the landscape? Let us know your favorite in the comments below.